Have you ever wondered if the future has already been written? Could it be that the rise of key political figures and the chaos they bring were foreseen long before? Today, we delve into a fascinating story that blends prophecy with reality. Drawing on the visions of Edgar Cayce, a man known as the Sleeping Prophet. His prophecies, given decades ago, eerily parallel the political upheavals and tensions we see today. Especially as we approach 2024. Cayce predicted a leader would rise during times of great turmoil, shaking the foundations of society and dividing nations. Many believe this leader to be Donald Trump. And Cayce's visions suggest that his role in shaping the future may be far from over. As we examine these prophecies and their relevance to current events, you'll begin to see just how closely they align with what we are witnessing now. Stay with us as we explore Cayce's predictions and what they might reveal about the world's path ahead. And remember, if you find this journey intriguing, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us continue exploring these fascinating mysteries. Edgar Cayce was no ordinary man. Born in 1877 in a small Kentucky town, Cayce's prophetic journey began in childhood when he claimed to possess abilities far beyond human comprehension. While others struggled to explain the unusual phenomenon of his trance-like states, Cayce was unwavering in his belief that his visions were not just dreams or fantasies but glimpses into a higher truth. Known for entering a self-induced trance state, Cayce provided thousands of readings on topics ranging from health and spirituality to world events and the future. His ability to foresee the trajectory of human history, from the rise and fall of nations to the movements of powerful leaders, earned him the title of the Sleeping Prophet. What makes Cayce's prophecies especially captivating is their unsettling relevance to the world today. He was not just a man of his time, his visions transcended the boundaries of the early 20th century, revealing a deep understanding of humanity's future struggles and transformations. Among his many predictions, those related to political events and global upheaval have attracted the most attention, particularly as we enter an era marked by unprecedented social and political volatility. One of Cayce's most striking prophecies concerned the emergence of a leader who would rise during a time of profound turmoil and societal division. He described this leader as someone who would shake the foundations of traditional governance, redefining political norms and polarizing the nation. According to Cayce, this leader would not be a conventional politician, he would come from an unexpected background, perhaps even an outsider to the established political system, and would quickly become a figure of both intense opposition and fervent loyalty. Sound familiar? In many ways, Donald Trump's emergence in American politics fits this mold almost too perfectly. Cayce's visions of a man rising from an unconventional background, challenging the establishment, and dominating the political landscape were eerily prescient. But what did Cayce say about the consequences of this leader's rise? Was his arrival a harbinger of chaos? Or did it carry the potential for transformation and change? The answers lie within Cayce's expansive body of work, which suggests that while the rise of this leader may be marked by conflict and division, it is also a part of a larger, more spiritual process. Cayce believed that the U.S. would face a period of great trials, in which the nation's people would be forced to confront their deepest societal divisions. These trials, according to Cayce, were not merely punitive in nature but essential for humanity's spiritual awakening. He suggested that these times of great upheaval, economic collapse, political strife, and even natural disasters, were necessary phases in the growth and evolution of humanity. In his readings, he often emphasized that suffering, though painful, could serve as a catalyst for personal and collective transformation. As we look at the state of the world in 2024, it seems as if Cayce's prophecies are playing out before our very eyes. Political polarization in the United States has reached unprecedented levels, with Trump once again emerging as a polarizing figure. Globally, nations are facing their own challenges. Europe is struggling with economic instability and political fragmentation, while tensions between major powers in Asia continue to escalate. Even natural disasters, which Cayce predicted would increase in frequency and intensity, are wreaking havoc around the world. From wildfires to hurricanes, the planet seems to be in the grip of forces beyond human control. And many are left wondering, is this the trial Cayce foresaw? Cayce's predictions about a transformative awakening during this period of upheaval are significant. He did not see the chaos as an end, but as a necessary process for the collective awakening of humanity. According to Cayce, true change could not come without a deep and painful reckoning with the world's injustices. He envisioned a period of political and social turmoil that would force people to confront the division and inequality that had long been festering beneath the surface. Yet, he also predicted that this crisis would ultimately lead to a more harmonious and enlightened world, as individuals and nations would be compelled to rise above their differences and come together for the common good. This is where Trump's role in Cayce's prophecies becomes even more intriguing. Cayce predicted that the leader in question would face tremendous opposition, but he would also inspire a passionate following. His leadership would test the very fabric of American democracy, and in doing so, expose both the strengths and flaws of the political system. Trump's presidency, marked by controversy, scandal, and divisive rhetoric, fits this vision in many ways. His rise to power has not only divided the nation but also forced many to re-evaluate the state of democracy in the US and the world. Whether one views him as a disruptor or a force for change, there is no denying the magnitude of his impact on the political landscape. But Cayce's prophecies do not simply focus on the leader himself, they also point to the broader implications of his leadership for the American people. In his readings, Cayce spoke often about the power of collective consciousness and the importance of individual responsibility. He suggested that the rise of such a leader was a reflection of the people's choices, not just the will of a single individual. This idea is crucial when considering Trump's presidency. His rise to power did not occur in a vacuum. It was the result of a nation deeply divided, struggling with issues of identity, race, and economic inequality. In many ways, Trump's leadership is less about him as an individual and more about the collective mindset of the American people during a time of crisis. As we reflect on Cayce's visions and their alignment with current events, it becomes clear that the path ahead is one of great uncertainty. But Cayce's teachings also offer hope. In his view, the darkest times often give rise to the greatest opportunities for growth and change. The trials and tribulations of 2024 and beyond may seem overwhelming, but they could also serve as a catalyst for a global awakening, leading humanity to a more enlightened future. It is up to each of us, as individuals and as a collective, to rise to the challenge and embrace the lessons that history and prophecy have to offer. As we approach 2024, the world finds itself teetering on the precipice of unprecedented disruption. Nations that were once considered pillars of stability are now grappling with deep economic, political, and social crises. These challenges, while not new in themselves, have intensified in recent years, creating a perfect storm of uncertainty and unrest. From the streets of Paris to the farthest reaches of Asia, it seems as though the very foundations of our societies are being tested. And many are asking whether these events are simply coincidental or whether they are part of a larger, more profound shift, a spiritual awakening. As Edgar Cayce predicted, in Europe, countries that once epitomized economic and political stability now face significant turmoil. France, for example, has been shaken by widespread protests, social unrest, and an economy struggling to recover from years of austerity measures. The European Union, which once symbolized unity and collaboration, is now increasingly divided, with some member states pushing for greater autonomy and others questioning the long-term viability of the Union itself. The once unquestioned European ideal of integration now seems to be under threat. As populist movements gain ground and nationalist sentiments rise, Cayce's prophecies of great trials and upheaval in Western democracies seem eerily prescient in light of these developments. In Asia, the geopolitical landscape is becoming more volatile by the day. The rise of China as a global superpower has led to tensions in the South China Sea, while its growing influence in Africa and Latin America is reshaping the global balance of power. Meanwhile, the long-standing conflict between North and South Korea remains unresolved, and the situation in Taiwan continues to hover on the edge of conflict. The US and its allies find themselves increasingly at odds with China, and the possibility of an all-out trade war or military confrontation grows ever more likely. Cayce's visions of great trials and conflicts in the East, particularly in the Pacific region, align closely with the current trajectory of global events. And then, of course, there is the United States, which is arguably at the heart of the current global chaos. The political polarization in the US has reached levels that were once unimaginable. The country is deeply divided along ideological lines, with the 2024 election looming as a moment of reckoning. The very idea of democracy seems to be under siege, as disinformation, corruption, and the influence of money in politics have eroded public trust in the institutions that once upheld the nation. The Trump presidency, which began in 2016, has catalyzed this division. But the fault lines were already there, Trump simply exposed them for all to see. Cayce's prophecies about the US in particular seem to fit the current situation like a glove. He spoke of a time when America would be forced to confront its deepest divisions, particularly those rooted in race, class, and political ideology. He saw this moment as a critical juncture for the nation, one that would demand a reckoning with its past in order to move forward. According to Cayce, this period of turmoil was not an end but a necessary part of a larger process of spiritual awakening, a phase in which the people of the United States would need to rediscover their shared values and rebuild their sense of unity. But Cayce's predictions were not just about political upheaval, they also included warnings about economic collapse and societal breakdown. The global economy, for instance, has been in a state of flux for several years. While the world economy initially rebounded from the 2008 financial crisis, the recovery has been uneven, and many economies are still struggling with high levels of debt, inflation, and growing inequality. The rise of populist leaders, both in Europe and the Americas, is in many ways a response to these economic grievances. As unemployment rates rise, the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen, and people are increasingly frustrated with a system that seems to favor the elite over the common person. In his prophecies, Cayce warned that economic upheaval was a key part of the trials that humanity would face. He saw the global economic system as being inherently flawed and in need of transformation. This period of economic instability, according to Cayce, would force people to reevaluate their priorities and values, and would ultimately lead to a more equitable and just society. While this process might be painful, Cayce believed that it was a necessary step in humanity's evolution. In many ways, we are already seeing these transformations unfold, as people around the world begin to question the capitalist system that has dominated for so long. Perhaps the most alarming aspect of Cayce's prophecies is his prediction of natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, and severe weather events that would accompany this period of global upheaval. Over the past few decades, the frequency and intensity of such disasters have increased dramatically. From hurricanes in the Caribbean to wildfires in California. It seems as though the planet itself is reacting to the strain placed upon it by human activity. Climate change, which Cayce also foresaw, is now recognized as a driving force behind many of these disasters. As the Earth's ecosystems continue to deteriorate, we are faced with the undeniable reality that we must change our relationship with the environment if we are to survive. Cayce saw these natural disasters as part of the larger process of transformation, a painful but necessary purging of the old in order to make way for the new. He suggested that these disasters would serve as a wake-up call, forcing humanity to confront the consequences of its actions and to begin the process of healing the planet. However, Cayce also emphasized that these trials were not simply a form of punishment, they were part of the cycle of life, necessary for the spiritual growth of humanity. As we look around the world in 2024, it is hard not to see the parallels between Cayce's prophecies and the events unfolding before us. Whether it is the political polarization in the US, the rising tensions in Asia, or the increasing frequency of natural disasters, the world seems to be in the midst of the very chaos that Cayce foresaw. But while the situation may seem bleak, Cayce also offered hope. His prophecies were not just about foretelling disaster but about pointing toward a brighter future, a future in which humanity, having faced its greatest challenges, would emerge stronger and more united. The question now is, will we rise to the occasion? Or will we be consumed by the chaos? Only time will tell. To better understand the relevance of Edgar Cayce's prophecies, it is useful to reflect on historical examples of transformative leaders who, in times of chaos, brought both upheaval and change. History is replete with individuals who emerged from the turbulence of their eras, leading nations through periods of profound transformation. Figures like Napoleon Bonaparte, Abraham Lincoln, and others have played pivotal roles in shaping the course of history, sometimes through war, sometimes through peace, and often by challenging the status quo. These leaders exemplify the power of prophecy as a lens through which we can interpret the events of the present and future. Take, for instance, Napoleon Bonaparte, a man born on the island of Corsica. Napoleon rose from obscurity to become one of the most powerful figures in European history. His reign, however, was not without significant upheaval. His military campaigns, while brilliant in strategy, resulted in widespread conflict across Europe, fundamentally reshaping the political landscape. Napoleon's ambition and vision were both praised and criticized, with some seeing him as a revolutionary and others viewing him as a tyrant. However, one undeniable aspect of his reign was its transformative nature. Napoleon's rise and fall altered the course of European politics, leading to new ideas about governance, democracy, and the power of the state. Despite the chaos he created, Napoleon's reign also laid the groundwork for the modern European political system, which would later influence the formation of the European Union. Similarly, Abraham Lincoln's presidency during the American Civil War provides another example of a leader rising during a time of great division and upheaval. The United States, on the brink of collapse, was torn by the issue of slavery, and Lincoln's decision to issue the Emancipation Proclamation ultimately changed the fabric of American society. Lincoln's leadership, though controversial in its time, preserved the Union and led to the abolition of slavery, a profound shift that redefined American identity. While Lincoln faced intense opposition, including numerous assassination attempts, his unwavering commitment to the preservation of the Union ultimately saw him through the darkest period of American history. Both Napoleon and Lincoln exemplify the duality of leadership during periods of crisis. They were leaders whose actions, while disruptive and often polarizing, ultimately brought about significant social, political, and economic change. Their journeys remind us that, while the path of a transformative leader is often marked by resistance and chaos, it is also paved with profound moments of progress. Much like the prophecy Cayce spoke of, their actions were both destructive and constructive, creating a lasting legacy in the process. In the modern context, one could argue that Donald Trump's political career mirrors certain aspects of these historical figures. Like Napoleon and Lincoln, Trump's rise to power was swift and came with significant disruption. He was an outsider, not part of the traditional political establishment. Much like Cayce's predicted leader, a figure who would rise during a time of immense division. Trump's presidency, characterized by fierce political polarization, cultural wars, and an unconventional leadership style, reshaped American politics in a way that no one could have anticipated. His policies, rhetoric, and leadership style have generated both fervent loyalty and vehement opposition, much like the historical leaders we've discussed. But there's a deeper aspect to Trump's presidency that reflects the lessons of history and the themes of Cayce's prophecies. Cayce spoke not only of the rise of a divisive leader but also of the societal reflections that accompany such a leader's reign. In his prophecies, Cayce suggested that leaders like Trump are not simply figures of individual significance, rather, they reflect deeper, underlying currents within the society that elevates them. In this sense, Trump's presidency can be seen not only as a product of his own personal ambitions but also as a response to the collective anxieties, frustrations, and divisions that have plagued American society for decades. Cayce's warnings about leaders serving as mirrors of societal issues are particularly poignant when considering the way in which Trump's leadership has illuminated long-standing societal divisions, particularly those surrounding race, class, and ideology. Under Trump's presidency, issues that had previously been simmering beneath the surface of American politics exploded into the public consciousness, forcing the nation to confront difficult truths about its own identity. Whether it was the rise of white nationalism, the debates over immigration, or the deepening political polarization, Trump's presidency acted as a mirror, reflecting back to America its own flaws and contradictions. But it's also important to note that, like Napoleon and Lincoln, Trump's leadership has been transformational in its own right, regardless of one's views on his policies or actions. There is no denying the profound impact he has had on American politics and society. His presidency reshaped the Republican Party, challenged long-held political norms, and reignited debates about the role of government in people's lives. Whether you view him as a disruptor or a reformer, Trump's influence on the political landscape will be felt for generations to come. The lessons from history and Cayce's prophecies also suggest that these moments of upheaval are not just about the leaders themselves but about the people they lead. History teaches us that great leaders do not arise in a vacuum, they emerge in response to the collective needs and desires of society. Similarly, Cayce's prophecies emphasize the importance of collective accountability. While leaders like Trump may bring chaos and division, they also provide an opportunity for the nation to reflect on its values and priorities. The path to healing and unity, Cayce suggests, requires not just a reckoning with the past but a willingness to embrace change and transformation. The historical figures we've discussed, Napoleon, Lincoln, Trump, show us that leadership during times of crisis is never simple. It involves not just the actions of the leader but also the forces of history, society, and the collective consciousness. Cayce's prophecies, while focusing on the role of specific leaders, also point to the greater spiritual and societal journey that must accompany any period of upheaval. In this sense, the true lesson of history and prophecy is that chaos, while inevitable, is not the end of the story, it is merely the beginning of a new chapter. What happens next depends on how we, as individuals and as a society, choose to respond to the challenges we face. As we reflect on Edgar Cayce's prophecies and their resonance with current events, a deeper question arises: what personal insights can we draw from these visions? And how can we apply them to our lives in a time of crisis and upheaval? Cayce's prophecies not only speak of world events and political figures but also offer profound spiritual lessons that transcend time and context. At the heart of these insights is the notion of collective accountability, spiritual growth, and the transformative potential of crises. One of Cayce's most recurring themes is the idea that crises, whether political, social, or personal, are opportunities for transformation. In a world increasingly divided, with rising political tensions, economic uncertainty, and environmental challenges, it can be easy to succumb to fear, anger, and frustration. Yet, Cayce reminds us that such tumultuous times are not just periods of destruction but also moments of great opportunity for growth. He speaks of great trials that are necessary to catalyze change, a painful yet essential phase of spiritual awakening for humanity. This perspective challenges us to look at the chaos surrounding us not just as a series of unfortunate events but as an invitation to evolve. In this sense, Cayce's prophecies encourage us to view the world through a different lens. The leaders and events we observe may be a reflection of deeper spiritual forces at work, pointing to a need for collective healing and self-awareness, rather than placing blame on individuals or external circumstances. Cayce urges us to look inward and assess how we are contributing to the state of the world. His teachings suggest that we, as individuals, have a role to play in the larger process of transformation, and that our actions, choices, and responses to the world around us can either perpetuate division or foster unity. This idea of collective accountability is crucial when we consider the current political climate, particularly the rise of leaders like Donald Trump. Whether we agree with his policies or not, Cayce's prophecies suggest that figures like Trump are not just products of their time but reflections of deeper currents within society. Trump's polarizing leadership, his rhetoric, and his actions have forced America to confront its most deeply rooted issues: racial inequality, economic disparity, and ideological divisions. Cayce's insight into these societal struggles calls us to reflect on the role each of us plays in perpetuating or challenging these divisions. Are we contributing to the polarization? Or are we working towards healing and reconciliation? Furthermore, Cayce's teachings emphasize the importance of embracing change, particularly during periods of upheaval. Change, Cayce suggests, is often painful but necessary for growth. Just as a forest fire clears the way for new growth to emerge, so too do moments of crisis offer an opportunity for renewal. The challenges we face today, whether economic collapse, political strife, or environmental disaster, are not the end of the story. They are, according to Cayce, a prelude to a new chapter in human history. One in which we can learn to live more harmoniously with each other and with the planet. This perspective on change also resonates with the teachings of many spiritual traditions, which view crisis as a catalyst for personal and collective awakening. The idea that adversity can lead to transformation is central to the concept of spiritual growth. In times of hardship, individuals are often forced to examine their beliefs, values, and priorities. In this way, crises provide an opportunity for self-reflection and the cultivation of wisdom. As we navigate the chaos of the present moment, Cayce's insights urge us to ask ourselves, how can we grow spiritually through these challenges? How can we contribute to a larger process of healing and awakening, both for ourselves and for society as a whole? Another key takeaway from Cayce's prophecies is the importance of unity amid chaos. As the world becomes more fragmented, with increasing political polarization, environmental degradation, and social unrest, it can be difficult to see how unity is even possible. Yet Cayce's vision suggests that true transformation can only occur when individuals and communities come together in a spirit of cooperation, mutual respect, and shared purpose. In the face of adversity, the need for unity becomes even more pressing. Rather than allowing division to deepen, Cayce calls on us to rise above the conflict and work towards collective healing. This idea of unity is particularly relevant in today's world, where people seem to be more divided than ever before. Whether it's political polarization, cultural wars, or the fragmentation of society into ideological echo chambers, the challenge of fostering unity has never been greater. Yet Cayce's vision offers a hopeful perspective, even in the midst of chaos. There is the potential for a collective awakening, a moment when humanity comes together to confront its deepest issues and forge a path toward healing. Cayce's insights also point to the power of individual action. While we may feel powerless in the face of global challenges, the truth is that each of us has the ability to make a difference. As Cayce often said, the soul's greatest opportunity for growth comes in times of crisis. It is in these moments of adversity that we are called to rise to our highest potential. Whether it's through acts of kindness, speaking out against injustice, or simply choosing to approach life with compassion and understanding, we can each contribute to the larger process of transformation. Ultimately, Cayce's prophecies are not just about predicting the future, they are about helping us understand the present moment in a deeper way. They challenge us to look beyond the surface of events and ask what lessons we can learn from the chaos around us. They remind us that, even in the darkest times, there is the potential for growth, healing, and renewal. As we navigate the uncertainties of the future, we must remember that the choices we make today, how we respond to crises, how we treat one another, and how we engage with the world, will shape the course of history. In the end, Cayce's visions offer a profound invitation to awaken to our higher purpose and recognize the spiritual significance of the challenges we face. The upheaval of our times is not just an external phenomenon, it is a call to action. A call to embrace change, seek unity, and contribute to the larger process of collective transformation. Whether we believe in prophecy or not, the wisdom embedded in Cayce's insights can guide us through the chaos and help us navigate the uncertain path ahead. It is a call to rise above fear and division and to embrace the transformative power of crisis, knowing that, through our collective efforts, we can shape a future that reflects our highest ideals. As we stand on the precipice of an uncertain future, one thing becomes clear: the visions shared by Edgar Cayce hold a mirror to the challenges we face today. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the lessons embedded in his prophecies offer a timely call to action, a reminder that we, as individuals and as a collective society, have the power to shape our destiny. As we witness the rise of divisive leaders, the deepening of societal rifts, and the increasing frequency of global crises, Cayce's predictions serve as both a warning and a guide. They challenge us to rise above fear, to seek understanding, and to embrace the transformative potential of these tumultuous times. The first step in heeding this call to action is to acknowledge the importance of our choices. As Cayce often reminded us, the future is not a fixed outcome, it is shaped by the choices we make today. The political, social, And environmental upheavals we are witnessing are not merely the result of external forces or the actions of a few powerful individuals, they are also a reflection of the collective choices we, as a society, have made. From the way we engage with our communities to the decisions we make at the ballot box. Each action contributes to the larger story of our time. If we are to navigate the challenges of the present moment and emerge stronger, we must first recognize the power we hold as individuals to influence the course of history. But it's not just about individual actions. Cayce's teachings emphasize the importance of unity, collective accountability, and spiritual awakening. As we face unprecedented levels of polarization and division, both in the United States and around the world, it is essential that we come together in a spirit of cooperation and mutual respect. The crises of our time, be they political, economic, or environmental, are not isolated incidents, they are interconnected. And they call for a collective response. This means that we must not only look inward to examine our own actions but also reach out to others, seeking common ground and working together towards shared solutions. Cayce's vision of a spiritual awakening, one that transcends division and encourages unity, offers hope even in the darkest of times. This call to action also invites us to embrace change. Change is often uncomfortable, and it's natural to resist it, especially when it seems to threaten the stability of the world we know. But Cayce's prophecies remind us that change, though painful, is an essential part of growth. Just as a forest fire clears the way for new life to emerge, the crises we face today can pave the way for a more enlightened and harmonious future. This requires us to let go of old paradigms and open ourselves to new possibilities. Whether it's in the realm of politics, the environment, or our personal lives, we must be willing to adapt, evolve, and embrace the opportunities for growth that arise from times of crisis. However, embracing change does not mean passively accepting the status quo. Cayce's visions also warn us of the dangers of complacency. In a world where the pace of change is accelerating and the challenges seem insurmountable, it is easy to become overwhelmed or disengaged. But this is precisely the moment when action is needed most. We must not sit idly by, waiting for someone else to solve our problems. We must take responsibility for the world we are creating, both through our individual actions and through our collective efforts. Whether it's taking to the streets in protest, volunteering for causes that matter to us, or simply engaging in conversations that promote understanding and healing, every action counts. In addition to embracing change, Cayce's prophecies urge us to confront the deeper issues that lie beneath the surface of our political and social struggles. The chaos we witness today is not just the result of external forces, it is also a reflection of the spiritual dissonance within society. As Cayce often pointed out, true transformation begins with inner change. If we are to build a better world, we must first examine ourselves, our values, and our beliefs. What are we willing to stand for? What do we want to see in the world? These are questions that each of us must answer. And the answers will determine the path we take as individuals and as a society. Cayce's call to action is not just about addressing the external world, it's also about the internal work we must do as individuals. As we navigate the chaos of our times, we are called to awaken to our higher purpose, to recognize the spiritual significance of the challenges we face, and to embrace the transformative power of crisis. Whether we face personal struggles or global crises, Cayce reminds us that these moments are opportunities for spiritual growth. They invite us to rise above fear, to seek unity, and to contribute to the healing of the world. The road ahead may be uncertain, but Cayce's prophecies offer us hope and direction. As we confront the chaos of 2024 and beyond, we are reminded that we are not powerless in the face of adversity. Each of us has a role to play in shaping the future. Through our choices, our actions, and our collective efforts, we can transform the world around us. As Cayce's visions show, the darkest times can also be the moments of greatest potential for change. The question is, will we answer the call? So, as we reflect on Cayce's predictions and the lessons they offer, let us remember that the future is not predetermined. It is shaped by the choices we make today. Will we rise to the challenge, embrace change, and work together to create a more harmonious and enlightened world? The answer lies within us all. The time to act is now. If this journey into prophecy and reality has sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Together, let's explore the mysteries of our time and uncover the truths that lie hidden within them. The future is waiting, and it's ours to shape.